Is my mic hot, Dr. Dre? Thank you. BG, by the way. I call it Dr. Dre all the time. That's personable. Let's call it BG and BG Studios in Brooklyn, New York. King Nigel, what up?
What it do? It's a new day.
Always. Yes, sir.
As always. Like I said, let's give thanks for another day.
Always.
Another episode.
Yes, indeed.
Let's get it going.
Right now, we're listening to 24 Hours to Live featuring The Locks, Black Rob, Sleep in Peace, DMX, Sleep in Peace. Man, we lost two giants in hip hop.
R.I.P. Black Rob.
Yeah, man.
DMX.
No doubt.
Listen to the family.
For sure, man. For sure. For sure, man. It's just like, I hope that they can find some closure. And it's just a testament to all of us to just try to be mindful of our health as much as possible and to love each other, man. It's very important. And this is just one of them tracks that came out back in the day, man. They don't make this type of music no more. You heard?
Here's a good question for you.
Huh?
What's more addictive? Sugar or the so-called
Harder drugs?
harder drugs?
Man, I'm going to say sugar because it's more prevalent. Sugar is in everything, you know? Ain't too many people ain't as many people running on the corner to get coke than it is sugar. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. By the way, this is the Wingate World Experience podcast on WWEP 71.8 on your Sirius radio dial, coming to you live from Brooklyn, New York. We got another special guest in the building, Mr. Vincent Micheal. V is what they call him. Welcome, brother. Thank you for coming. Yeah, man, and it's always a pleasure to sit with stalwarts in the community, the calisthenics community, culture, fitness. I don't look at you as just a calisthenics athlete. I think you encompass all of the above, you know, and it's important to have those type of athletes get their platform and speak their truths and things that they've experienced. Let me slowly wind this one down. Thank you, Mase, for that one. That was a beautiful track. Yeah, so we got you in the building, man, and we are preparing for this coming Saturday. Today is 420. First of all, shout out to all the partakers out there. You know, yeah, it's hot. We out, Joe. You might have to a little bit closer. Might be a little bit closer. Check again. Yeah, we good? We good, Dre? Nah, I'm gonna keep talking if not. But anyway, we got like I said, we got V in the building, and we just we're preparing for. I don't know. It probably was a little low in the beginning, but it's all good. We here. Check it.
Yeah.
What we doing, BG?
There you go. There we
That
are.
sound better?
We here now. What up?
Hey,
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
it's real out in the field.
Yeah. September. I'm not saying September. What
Going
month
to
is this?
September.
Yeah. Word. That's an song. What's this coming Saturday? We got an event
April
coming.
24th.
April 24th. Tompkins Park. The final leg of your press run.
Yes, sir.
It's really dope to see other platforms out there featuring athletes that are doing competitions. I hope that can be a constant going forward. I think it's very important. When we were speaking on the phone, we were talking about, and this is something that we had kind of spoken about, Nigel and myself, that we are our own sports platforms. We are our own ESPN, our own ESPN2, FS1. I think there was a time where we were trying to
Get
grab
their attention.
Yeah, we were trying hard to get their attention. And you know, they got their CrossFit thing and their strongman thing, which is dope in itself. But for us in our niche community, I felt personally, and you felt the same, that it was time that we start creating our own platforms where we can speak and have highlights and interviews. And what are your thoughts on that type of thing, where we're headed as far as being, I guess you could say, our own Viacoms, our own things of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, we're building our own little, media sources.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, I think that it's important. It's vital because, like you said, you know, those big corporate type sports media outlets, Sports Illustrated, ESPN.
Shout out to Sports Illustrated. Whoa, you took it back, bro.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I saw something on House of Highlights this afternoon. Two guys holding a handle where you would arm wrestle, punching each other in the face. That was the
I've seen
competition.
that before. Yeah.
I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
You know, but that's on House of Highlights. But our comps and stuff like that, they give no shine to. Like, it don't make no sense. But,
Right.
I mean, You got to build things yourself. That's all it is. And I think platforms like this and the open bar and what the CCA are doing and stuff like that, like they're important. And then even in terms of certain YouTubers, you know, that they do it in kind of like a journalistic type of manner. And, you know, like a Gumby. You know, Sean
Gumby, baby.
You know, Gumby
friend of the show,
doing interviews, you know, highlighting some of the athletes in the community and stuff like that. Like that stuff is important, and I think it continues to grow. And you know, I've challenged a couple people. I'm still waiting on it, but you know, tell them, you know, write a paragraph with it. You know, take it a step further into journalism. You know, you see when you go on ESPN.com. There's a video of that Knick game and the highlights, but there's a whole article underneath it. You know, that's full-blown media, journalism, you know. So I think that's another progression for certain YouTubers that want that, you know, that can start to evolve as well as things go along, I think.
I agree. I always harken back to the earlier times where there were people who were doing interviews, especially when it comes to Wingate. We had Strictly Bar Talk, which was a constant in our community. And I think I want to say that I know they kind of like are our forefathers of knowing how to do interviews. And I just think we're at the point where we're taking it to the next step.
Absolutely.
And probably constructing it a little bit better, or putting it to a point where people can consume it a little bit differently. And I also think that it's good to have different viewpoints.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah. So like you said, the platforms that you mentioned, I guarantee you, if you go on all three of them, you're gonna have a different vibe. You're going to have a different lingo. You're going to have a different perspective. And I think that's important because it's just like ESPN. You listen to First Take, then you might go to Undisputed, then you might go to, I don't know the main ones are FS1, but any of those, it's all going to be different, even if it's the same athlete. So
or even like on the radio. I mean, you go on Hot 97 and that's one vibe, and then you go on 105.1 and that's different energy.
Exactly.
You know, so you know, I think that's something that we're building within the community for ourselves, and I think that it's important.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, how interesting would life be without diversity?
Man. That's the key, Nigel. I think sometimes people get wrapped up in movements and followers that they forget that diversity is key. Without it, we would have no growth. You don't have the same type of grass in everybody's yard. You don't have the same flowers. You don't have the same homes.
Definitely don't all come up the same.
You know, all different experiences. We've seen things.
Different perspectives.
Yeah. And especially in calisthenics, I think at one point that a lot of people were used to doing things one way, and that was just the standard. And then all of a sudden, there was a uniqueness to different people. They started doing it this way. You had people who, I mentioned it before, you got the high reppers and the competitors. Then you have the people who are cardio, they into cardio. Then you
endurance,
have endurance. Oh, I got it. And then you have the people who are like, you know, they just want to stay healthy, so they're kind of somewhere in the middle.
And then you got the freestylers.
Oh, the freestylers! Shout out to the freestylers.
And then you got the freestylers who, you know, there's different waves of that too. There's some that are more gymnastically inclined, and they try to keep it more conventional, geared towards that, you know. And then there's a few people that have a little bit more flavor to it, you know, and sprinkle more stuff in it, you know. I like creativity personally. Yeah, you know. So
yeah. And for me, I'm a more traditional guy. You know, I like the basic push-ups, pull-ups, and I think a lot of this because some of that I can't do. Like
absolutely,
you know what I mean?
You know, I tell you,
that shit motivates you. Yeah, that shit motivates you to stay, try and keep up.
I recognize though, getting a little older though, doing all the freestyle stuff, it's nice to have the knowledge of, well, I could always scale it back and regress it. And I could still be active. Like, I can't do pull 360s forever. Right. You know,
Shout out to Spliff.
I can't do those wild things and everything like that. Some of it's dangerous. You could get hurt and stuff like that. So, but you could always scale it back to your own level to stay active.
I often marvel at some of these freestyles. I think some of those guys are just freaks of nature. Some things, you're just not going to be able to do because that's what they can do. That's their thing.
It's a lot of mental in it. It's you got to be fearless for some of the stuff they do, like Nexus. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Nexus.
I heard the name for sure.
But Nexus does 720s. He doesn't do 360s.
Crazy.
He does 720s.
Crazy.
I've seen him do it in Brooklyn Zoo, and it is a sight to behold. You know, he's 21, 22 years old. He's fearless.
Oh, you got that young fearlessness?
I look at that. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, shout out to the Brooklyn Zoo, man. They house some very incredible athletes.
Absolutely. Shout out Bar Crazy as a team.
Yeah, Bolo. Shout out to
Yes.
Bolo. He does his thing. I want to say he's the forefather of it, because there's a lot of people who were doing it, but as far as putting it on the map content-wise, Bolo was one of the first guys that I remember doing incredible freestyling on the bar.
He's one of the most consistent.
Okay.
He's one of the most consistent. He's a great coach. You know, he's got a lot of young athletes that show up to the zoo for the sole purpose of him. And I think that's a testament to him, you know, and what he does and the dedication he has to the sport. And even being a teacher, you know, and that's something I could greatly respect, because, you know, for me personally, you know, I come from a fitness training background, and I got to a point for me, it's like, I don't want to be a babysitter. You know, I don't want to have to call you and make sure that you're going to show up and you're not going to come 20 minutes late and this and that and all that. Me personally, I like the idea of getting an athlete, a prospect, someone that wants to learn. You know, that's more exciting to me, and I don't need no money for that. You know, you want me to be a babysitter, you got to give me 100 plus, because I'm not going to waste my time. Time is valuable.
I respect
but
it.
if you're talented and you're hungry and you want to learn, I'm here all day.
Absolutely.
You know, that's different. And Bolo's like that, and I really respect that about him.
Sure.
I learned a lot from him myself personally.
Likewise. So, all right, so let's get a little bit into your story. I know to some of you listeners out there, this may be a little bit redundant, because you have been doing a little bit of a press
Different audience, though.
Yeah, for sure. So that's why we're going to get into it again.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of your beginning into calisthenics and fitness for people who haven't heard that before.
Yeah, so I primarily fell into calisthenics due to injury. I was at the tail end of my career in the fire department. I had some injuries and I had cancer.
Okay.
So while going through that, I had to strip my whole fitness program down. And I was doing conventional pull-ups, push-ups, dips, just trying to stay active, because I couldn't do any real heavy lifting. And I became obsessed with getting the muscle up. And after a while, figured out the mechanics of it and everything. And, you know, just it gave me peace retiring and leaving, going to the next phase of my life, trying to figure out what I was going to do. And, you know, I just really just immersed myself in Tompkins Square Park. You know, I would be
Shout
in
out to
Tompkins.
Tompkins, the legendary
I would
Tompkins.
be in Tompkins. I lived up the block.
That's Best-Eye, right?
No, that's in the East Village.
East Village? Okay.
There is another Tompkins. I know what you're talking about.
Oh, so
Yes.
you're talking about,
Tompkins
I thought you
Square
was talking
Park
about
in the East Village. I know what you're talking about,
I
too.
thought you was talking about Brooklyn Tompkins.
Brooklyn Tompkins, yeah.
No.
you talking
Okay.
about- so you
Tompkins
from
Square Park in the East Village.
So you from Manhattan?
I'm from Brooklyn originally. Well, I was born in the Bronx. I was raised in South Brooklyn, like Bensonhurst, Gravesend area. I bounced around with my mother down there. And then since I've been grown, I've been in the East Village for like the last 15 years.
Okay.
So I went to Tompkins Square Park, and I would be there for like 4-6 hours till the sun came down. You know, it's just
I remember them days.
that's how I grew up.
Yeah.
That's how I grew up, living in the schoolyards, you know, hanging out on the corners and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
you know, when that phase of my career was done, I kind of just went back to it, but on a fitness tip, you know, because when I was a teen, it wasn't for me to be doing fitness and good things. Like I was like, you know, a troublemaker. So it's a different turn on things, and I got a different perspective now, you know, being much older and grown, you know.
For sure. I get that 100%, man. It was the same with us in Wingate once upon a time, just being in there all day. You know, it was an escape. You know what I mean? We're trying to figure out not only health and wellness and getting our bodies right, but just grinding. That's what it is. It was a grind. And
For me, it gives me peace.
oh yeah, for sure.
It gives me peace. I go there. I don't got to think about all the other things going on and what I'm going to do and this and that and am I going to be okay and all this stuff and everything. I just get the workout in and I could clear my mind. And usually in the park, you know, it's positive-minded people in there. You know, they're all in there doing their own self-betterment, their own therapy, you know. So it's a good environment for me personally. You know, I find it very therapeutic and very peaceful when I'm there.
Oh yeah, I can respect that 100%. Let's talk about. Oh, first of all, I don't want to just walk past the fact that you had a cancer. For me, my father died of it. Several in my family. Yeah, you know, it's tough. You know, prostate for him. I had a scare myself where they had to go literally into my bone marrow, into my brain to make sure that I didn't have it, because of course my diet and health wasn't the best. And it was a scary time for me and my family, so I can definitely identify with that. Did you have to have any chemo or anything of that nature?
I basically had the lowest level of chemo that they offer, which is called radioactive iodine.
Okay.
So I took a pill, and I was radioactive for like 10 days.
Man.
And I had to stay in isolation.
Wow.
So like if I came out the room, I had to put gloves on. I had to put saran wrap on the toilet if I was going to use it. You know, my food had to be brought to me. Like I was like a bubble boy.
Right. You was on your Godzilla, man. You was
like you know what I'm saying? Like I was just full isolation for 10 days. And, you know, that was a kind of scary experience because, you know, doctors try to be positive and they downplay everything. So the whole way through, they were like, oh, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. No, don't worry about it. It's okay, you know. And when I had the surgery, I thought that I would be done with it. And I went for my follow-up, and he was like, you know, you still have cancer, unfortunately, and you're going to have to take this radioactive iodine. And I remember the girl that I was with at the time and everything, you know, she wasn't even in the city. And I left the hospital like they blew my mind. Like, I still have this, and you just took a part of my body? Like, what? Right. You know, so it was kind of crazy. But, yeah, you know, I just roll with the punches and stuff like that. And just from my upbringing, really, you know, it's like I've always been the type where it's like any type of pain or adversity or anything like that, try to turn it into power.
Right.
So when I saw like, okay, there's no other avenues for me to avoid this surgery, I'm going to have to roll with it. And I just prayed on it that I could still be the same after it. And then I just took it as motivation. Like, I'm not going to let that change me. Mm-hmm. I won't let that make me sit down, or, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to still be me. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm going to make it a point. And it was a struggle for a couple years. You know, they had to figure out like my hormone levels, and my weight fluctuated drastically. Like I was bouncing between like 155 and 190, you know, like just up
That's
and down.
That's a crazy fluctuation,
up and down, and fatigue issues and stuff like that, you know, which also brings on depression. You don't really want to do much when you're feeling like that. So, but through all of it, I just kept chipping away, you know, little, like I said, pull-ups, banded pull-ups. If I really wasn't feeling well enough, I'll go grab that band, and I would do my pull-ups with a band. And I still do that today. Like, you know, if I'm hurt and stuff like that, I'll stay active using a resistance band, or like I said, you know, you could always scale it back to stay moving, you know, and I think that movement is key. Movement's what keeps you young. Absolutely. You know, as soon as you start sitting still and you just plop on down, that's when the clock just speeds on up and you age.
That foundation of basics, you know, never goes away. Yeah. That's amazing. So let's talk about the Finding Barbara movement, where it all started. Why did you feel like that was something that you wanted to get into after you had kind of started, I won't say becoming an expert, but you could say becoming an expert, but basically knowing what to do with your body. Now you had a brand.
Yeah, that was, I wouldn't say I was an expert in calisthenics at that time. Okay. I still don't necessarily know that I am at this point. I know stuff. I'm good. I'm efficient. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't, you know what I'm saying?
Let's say efficient then.
Yeah, I'm very efficient, you know.
So what'd you do before you got into calisthenics? What was your workout regimen? Like,
more traditional strength training, you know, squatting, deadlifting, you know, so bench press.
Weights into it.
More weights, yeah. But having to strip everything down because of the injuries, and then you know, moving into another phase of my life, I was really trying to figure out what my lane was going to be and what I was going to do, and I was curious if I would ever be able to run again. So when I did that, I kind of bounced through a couple parks, and that kind of gave me the idea for it. And then from there, I just, like I said, I was living in Tompkins, so I just, you know, just started pestering people like, yo, I got this idea. You want to come for a run with me? And they were like, you know, I don't know. And then, you know, I met one guy that was an avid runner in the park, and he was like, I'm with it. Let's go do it tomorrow. And I was like, I'm not ready yet. Right. But, you know, I got a handful of people to do it, and, you know, they liked it, and I thought that it was good. I felt like it was a challenge. So I just kind of rolled with it. And then that first season that we did, I went from 5 people in like June or July to, I had a run in November that had like 50, 60 people at it. So that kind of was like,
that's heavy.
That's
no small feat.
That was the change right there. You know, I was like, I think this works.
That's really dope. So is that how you coincides into Finding Barbara, or
is that how I found? Like,
is that the conduit for it?
It started with the 5 people. Well, really, like the name for it, if that's what you're asking, like the name for it. from my understanding, people in the park and everything like that, it was like, well, the bar is called Barbara.
Of course.
So I was like, okay.
That's
got
universal,
that.
especially in New York.